Howdy y'all, got the Bulldog on the channel. What we got here today, an 04 Ford F-150, and it's another one of them where I'm pretty sure somebody's been working on it, but found it fairly quickly just by looking at data. It comes in and it presents with lien codes on both banks. It presents with the active shutter, the intake manifold runner control codes being stuck. Throwing codes for the runner control being stuck. Look in the data, and it's the fuel trim is running plus max on short term and long trim. And on our trusty snap-on machine here, you can see after the repair, we're running along pretty close to zero. The negative numbers, when it goes negative, that means that the computer is trying to take away fuel that is running too rich in the exhaust. And the positive numbers mean that the engine's running too lean and the computer's trying to add fuel. So you can find things like a leaking injector, you can find a vacuum leak by watching your short-term and long-term fuel trim. The short-term is your immediate sensors, and this is how we find vacuum leaks. Is we're sitting here watching our short-term fuel trim, and you know how on the old ones you take a can of propane or brake clean, anything flammable, and you're spraying around the engine in there, you're spraying it around, and when you hit the spot where the vacuum leak is, your engine will rev up. Well, the computers are sophisticated enough, and some of them are quick enough that you don't actually hear it, or it's such a small leak that it doesn't have enough effect. But that computer can control the idle quick enough that sometimes you can't hear it just with your ear. That's where these come in, because we have had intake manifold gaskets, the rubber ones that like to shrink up, and we're spraying the thing over the gasket where we think the leak is, and our fuel trim would lean out. It's trying to lean it out. And you can't even hear the engine changing tone, but the fuel trim is showing that it's getting extra fuel and it's trying to take away fuel. That is something where a diagnostic machine works really well. With this Zeus here, we can pick it up, put the graph up with the long term and the short term both up on all the same screen. You can run 4 different ones at once and watch everything all at once. It was running, I think, plus 40. It was maxed out on both. He cleared everything out, took it out and drove it, and the short term was pegged out, and the long term just kept climbing until it got to max. Get it back here, we know there's a vacuum leak, but we can't hear it. Wonder where, but it's such a big leak that we couldn't hear it sucking air. Get down in there and find a vacuum line somewhere that doesn't have any vacuum on it. Follow it to the end, and it's unhooked. Big thing, the size of my finger. Can't hear it. Normally you'd hear a vacuum leak that size. But anyway, follow it down there, and it goes back down around the back side of the motor, and can't find out where it hooks up, so that's where the next one will come in. All right, we're out behind the building here in our little alcove where we keep extra parts. We put a motor in some years ago, and we ended up with a good intake, so we kept it. Just, you know, it has 8 good injectors in it, and, you know, good plastic intake. I'll show you what was wrong. Right here, this vacuum line was popped off, and the line itself, you remember that thing had codes in it for this intake manifold runner control being stuck. It was jammed up over here in the runner control. Actually, it was wrapped around the back side of everything like this, and then down in here, and for whatever reason, it came off. So it was jammed up in the runner control like that. Pulled it out, got it routed down below this like it's supposed to be, down below everything. Slid it back on here. Clear the codes out. Reset the cam. I forget what it stands for. Computer active memory or something like that. I don't know. It's the block learn is what I used to call the block learn. But it resets all the adaptives in the computer back to 0 and starts relearning again. So boss is out driving it right now. That thing beforehand, it would keep leaning, or it'd keep richening the mixture, and it'd get too rich, and the computer would get all confused, and it'd just die. So those things, it's something so simple as a vacuum leak can cause screwy problems that you should be able to find, but for whatever reason, you can't. So figured I'd get on here and document that one. And you can see sometimes, now even the simplest things, when they're built like that, you can see how deep that was on the intake. That's 18 inches down. Back in there, you can't get to it. So I understand why they had problems, but yeah, guess what? Somebody worked on it, and they got that thing on the wrong side of a pipe, and it caused problems for somebody else. So keep an eye out. Like, comment, subscribe, hit your little bell notification, share it all around. We'll talk to you later.